Scene Q. Moonlight glints off the metal canister as solemn naval officers prepare the corpse. Operation Mincemeat is a go. Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague whispers as the submarine crew prepares to launch their macabre deception. The intelligence officer had meticulously crafted this elaborate ruse over months alongside Charles Cholmondeley of MI5. Together, they had transformed a homeless Welsh man who died from rat poison into the fictional Major William Martin, complete with theater tickets, love letters, and the false battle plans that would misdirect German forces away from the actual Allied invasion target. The corpse slides into the water with a gentle splash, his briefcase chained to his wrist. Inside lies what Adolf Hitler will soon believe is the greatest intelligence prize of the war. Documents suggesting the Allies' plan to invade Greece and Sardinia, not Sicily, their actual target. The success of the upcoming Operation Husky, the Allied invasion involving 160,000 troops and 4,000 aircraft, now hinges on whether German intelligence will take the bait. Montague later wrote in his diary, "If they swallow mincemeat, we have them." The stakes could not be higher. In 1943, the war hangs in a precarious balance. The Allies have only recently turned the tide in North Africa, while in the East, the Soviets are locked in the bloody aftermath of Stalingrad, where over 800,000 Axis soldiers had perished. Sicily represents the crucial first stepping stone into Hitler's Fortress Europe. But a forewarned defense could transform the invasion into a bloodbath. As the submarine silently slips away, leaving the corpse to drift toward Spanish shores, no one aboard can know if their audacious plan will succeed or fail catastrophically. The most elaborate deception of World War II has begun, and the fate of thousands now rests with a dead man who never existed. But what happens when the body washes ashore? Will the Germans take the bait that British intelligence has so meticulously prepared? By early 1943, the tide of war was shifting. The Allies had secured North Africa and were planning their next move, the invasion of Sicily. But Sicily was the obvious target, and Hitler knew it. Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague of British Naval Intelligence sits in a dimly lit London office, his face illuminated only by the glow of his desk lamp as he reviews a most unusual proposal. Beside him, Flight Lieutenant Charles Cholmondeley from MI5 watches nervously. They are about to create a ghost, a man who never existed but whose death might save thousands of lives. Operation Mincemeat was born from the fertile mind of Ian Fleming, the same naval intelligence officer who would later create James Bond. In a document called the Trout Memo, Fleming had proposed planting false documents on a corpse that would wash ashore in enemy territory. Now, Montague and Cholmondeley were turning this fiction into reality. The body they selected belonged to Glyndwr. Michael, a 34-year-old homeless Welsh laborer who had died from rat poison in January 1943. His body had been kept in cold storage at St. Pancras Mortuary, while the intelligence officers sought permission from Winston Churchill himself, who approved the operation with the simple note, "In wartime, truth is so precious that she should always be attended by a bodyguard of lies." Transforming Michael into Major William Martin of the Royal Marines required meticulous attention to detail. Every item on the body had to withstand scrutiny. The Germans have a reputation for thoroughness, Montague warned his team. One mistake and the game is up. They created an entire life. Identity card number 14828, a photograph, theater ticket stubs, letters from a fictional fiancée named Pam, a jeweler's receipt for an engagement ring, overdue bills, keys, cigarettes. Even the lint in his pockets was carefully selected. Most importantly, they crafted letters from Lieutenant General Sir Archibald Nye, Vice Chief of the Imperial General Staff, to General Sir Harold Alexander in Tunisia, subtly indicating that the Allies planned to invade Greece and Sardinia, not Sicily. The letters were marked personal and most secret, and placed in a briefcase chained to Major Martin's wrist. On April 19, 1943, the submarine HMS Seraph surfaced off the coast of Huelva, Spain. At 4:30 a.m., Lieutenant Norman Jewell read the 39th Psalm over the body before it was gently lowered into the Mediterranean waters. With it went the hopes of the Allied High Command and the lives of countless soldiers who would soon storm the beaches of Europe. The corpse drifted toward the Spanish coast, carrying its deadly secrets. Not deadly to the bearer, who was already beyond harm, but potentially deadly to German forces, who would be looking in the wrong direction when the real attack came, April 30th, 1943. Dawn breaks over the choppy waters off Huelva, Spain. The body of Major William Martin washes ashore, his waterlogged uniform clinging to cold flesh. A briefcase handcuffed to his wrist contains secrets that will determine the fate of thousands. Local fisherman Jose Antonio Rey Maria discovers the corpse and alerts authorities. What appears to be a tragic accident is actually the culmination of months of meticulous British planning. Operation Mincemeat's moment of truth has arrived. Spanish officials quickly take possession of the body. Captain Adolfo Claros Ruiz of the Spanish Navy examines the corpse, noting the advanced state of decomposition. The body has been carefully selected, a homeless Welsh man who died from rat poison, his lungs filled with fluid to mimic drowning. The British planners, led by Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague and Flight Lieutenant Charles Cholmondeley, have thought of everything. They've created an elaborate false identity. Major William Martin of the Royal Marines, complete with theater tickets, love letters, and a photograph of his fictional fiancée, Pam. So, Spanish authorities followed diplomatic protocol, informing their German allies of the discovery. Within hours, Abwehr agent Adolf Klaus is dispatched to investigate. The Germans are immediately interested. A British officer with classified documents is too valuable to ignore. Spanish officials photographed the contents of Martin's briefcase before returning them to British diplomats. These photographs will soon make their way to Berlin. Lieutenant Colonel José López Barón Cerruti, head of the Spanish security service in Huelva, plays a critical role. Though Spain is officially neutral, Cerruti maintains close ties with the German intelligence. He ensures the Germans receive copies of the documents while maintaining the appearance of propriety with the British. The Spanish authorities, walking a delicate diplomatic tightrope, become unwitting accomplices in one of history's greatest deceptions. The contents of Martin's briefcase include a personal letter from Lieutenant General Sir Archibald Nye, Vice Chief of the Imperial General Staff, to General Sir Harold Alexander in North Africa. The letter casually mentions that the Allies plan to invade Greece and Sardinia, not Sicily, which is the actual target. This false intelligence is deliberately crafted to appear authentic, part of what Montague later called the verisimilitude of the small detail. Scene cue. Spanish officials in a dimly lit room carefully photographing documents while German agents wait anxiously outside. Karl Erich Kuhlenthal, one of Germany's most trusted spies in Spain, forwards the intelligence to Berlin with his personal endorsement. The trap is set. As the documents make their journey through Spanish hands to German intelligence, the fictional Major Martin's posthumous mission is proceeding exactly as planned. The dead man is telling his lie. April 30th, 1943. The Führer Hauptquartier, Wolf's Lair. Adolf Hitler stares at the intelligence report spread before him, his face illuminated by the harsh overhead lights. His fingers, slightly trembling from the cocktail of medications prescribed by Dr. Theodor Morel, trace the outline of Sicily on the map. The Mediterranean theater hangs in the balance. The fate of the Third Reich's southern front rests on a decision that must be made now. A decision based on documents found on a waterlogged corpse that washed ashore on a Spanish beach. This information confirms what we already suspected. Hitler declares to the assembled officers, the Allies will strike Greece and Sardinia. Sicily is merely a feint. Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel and General Alfred Jodl exchange glances. No one dares contradict the Führer. The intelligence from Agent Kulenthal in Madrid seems irrefutable. Personal letters to high-ranking British officers, official correspondence from Lieutenant General Sir Archibald Nye to General Alexander in North Africa, even a letter from Lord Louis Mountbatten, all pointing to Greece as the primary target. The body of the British courier, Major William Martin of the Royal Marines, has yielded the Reich's greatest intelligence coup of the Mediterranean campaign. In Berlin, Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, head of the Abwehr, harbors private doubts. The intelligence seems too perfect, too convenient. But Hitler has already redirected the formidable 1st Panzer Division from Sicily to Greece. 10,000 men, 100 tanks, hundreds of artillery pieces, all moving east based on the contents of a dead man's briefcase. What Hitler doesn't know, what would send him into one of his legendary rages, is that Major William Martin never existed. Scene Q. Camera slowly pans across Hitler's war room to reveal the fatal decision being made on the map. The corpse that washed ashore near Huelva was actually that of Glyndwr Michael, a homeless Welsh laborer who had died from rat poison in London. Operation Mincemeat, conceived by British intelligence officer Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague and RAF squadron leader Charles Cholmondeley, has achieved its objective. The elaborate deception included fabricating an entire identity, identification cards, theater ticket stubs, personal photographs, love letters from a fictional fiancée named Pam, and even unpaid bills in the corpse's pockets. Admiral Karl Dönitz, commander of the German Navy, later wrote in his diary, "The Führer is convinced the documents are genuine. I have rarely seen him so certain of anything." This certainty would cost Germany dearly. Hitler's fatal mistake wasn't just believing the documents. It was his psychological predisposition to trust intelligence that confirmed his existing beliefs about Allied intentions. This confirmation bias, exploited masterfully by British intelligence, would seal the fate of Axis forces in Sicily and perhaps shorten the war by months. April 30th, 1943. Berlin, the Führer's headquarters. Adolf Hitler stands rigid, his face a mask of concentration as he studies the intelligence report before him. The documents recovered from a British officer washed ashore in Spain have reached his desk after passing through the hands of his most trusted intelligence officers. The information is clear. The Allies plan to invade Greece, not Sicily. Hitler's decision in this moment will alter the course of the Mediterranean campaign. This information confirms what I have suspected all along, Hitler declares to his assembled generals. The attack on Sicily is merely a feint. The real blow will fall on Greece, and then the Balkans. His voice rises with certainty as he pounds his fist on the table. The room falls silent. Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel and General Alfred Jodl exchange glances. Hitler has been convinced. Operation Mincemeat, the British deception using a corpse dressed as a Royal Marines officer carrying false documents, has achieved its primary objective. The dead man who never existed has spoken from beyond the grave, and the Führer is listening. Within days, German High Command issues new orders. The 1st Panzer Division, comprising 15,000 men, 120 tanks, and hundreds of support vehicles, begins its redeployment from France to Greece. The veteran Hermann Göring Division receives urgent transfer orders to shift from Sicily to the Peloponnese. Admiral Donitz redirects U-boat patrols from Sicilian waters to the eastern Mediterranean. In total, over 90,000 German troops are repositioned based on information carried by a dead man who never truly existed. May 12, 1943. General Erwin Rommel, recently appointed to oversee Balkan defenses, diverts critical supplies, including 100,000 landmines, 1,000 artillery pieces, and over 200 anti-aircraft guns from Sicily to Greece. The German 22nd Air Landing Division, originally slated for Sicily, now establishes defensive positions around Athens. Precious fuel, Germany's most critical resource, is consumed in this massive redeployment, with over 400,000 gallons diverted to support the Balkan reinforcement. Scattered across the Mediterranean, German commanders frantically prepare for an invasion that will never come. Lieutenant General Hans Valentin Huber, commanding the limited forces remaining in Sicily, sends increasingly desperate messages requesting reinforcements. His pleas go largely unanswered. In London, the architects of Operation Mincemeat, Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague and Flight Lieutenant Charles Cholmondeley, receive confirmation through ultra-decrypts that their deception has succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. The Germans have swallowed mincemeat, whole, Montague writes in his diary on May 14th. They are reinforcing the wrong place. Our man who never was has done his work. The Mediterranean chessboard has been dramatically rearranged. Hitler has committed his forces to a phantom threat, leaving the real target dangerously exposed, and all because of a single corpse carrying letters that were never meant to be read by their addressees. The dead man, in reality, a homeless Welsh laborer named Glyndwr Michael, has posthumously changed the course of the war. Operation Husky succeeds. The legacy of a man who never was, July 10th, 1943. Sicily. Allied forces stormed the beaches in overwhelming numbers, catching German defenses critically undermanned and unprepared. Operation Husky unfolds with surprising ease, the deadliest opposition having been diverted elsewhere. Somewhere beneath Mediterranean waters lies the decaying body of a man who never existed, but who changed the course of World War II. The Sicily invasion was a brilliant success. British Admiral Sir Andrew Cunningham would later note in his memoirs. The deception plan had worked even beyond our expectations. The Allied casualty count for the invasion, 24,150, though substantial, represented a fraction of what military planners had feared. Without Operation Mincemeat's successful deception, intelligence analysts estimated potential casualties exceeding 100,000 men. The ripple effects of Major William Martin's fictional sacrifice extended far beyond Sicily. The successful invasion provided the Allies their first European foothold, drained Hitler's resources from other fronts, and ultimately led to Italy's surrender on September 8, 1943. Benito Mussolini, Hitler's strongest ally, fell from power just 2 weeks after Sicily's invasion began. The man responsible for creating a Major Martin, Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague, would receive the Order of the British Empire for his wartime service. Yet for decades after the war, he maintained the official secret surrounding the operation. Only in 1953, with the publication of his book, The Man Who Never Was, did the full story emerge. The operation's mastermind, Charles Cholmondeley, retreated into relative obscurity after the war, his pivotal role in military history largely unrecognized until years later. Scene cue. Camera pans across the Commonwealth. War Graves Commission Cemetery in Huelva, Spain, where a headstone still reads, William Martin, R.M., born 29th of March, 1907. Died 24th of April, 1943. Beloved son of John Glyndwr Martin and the late Antonia Martin of Cardiff. Wales. Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. In the cemetery at Huelva, Spain, a grave still marks the final resting place of Glyndwr Michael, the homeless Welsh man, whose body became the vessel for one of history's greatest deceptions. His headstone bears the name William Martin, the fictional identity that fooled Hitler and helped save thousands of Allied lives. Perhaps the most profound legacy of Operation Mincemeat lies in what it reveals about modern warfare itself. As British military historian Sir Basil Liddell Hart observed, in warfare, truth is so precious she must always be attended by a bodyguard of lies. The operation demonstrated how, in the shadow world of intelligence, fiction could become more powerful than battalions, and a single corpse with fabricated papers could accomplish what thousands of bombs could not. The dead British spy who never existed reminds us that in the brutal calculus of war, imagination can sometimes prove more decisive than firepower. A homeless man who died alone in London ultimately helped liberate Europe, proving that in history's darkest hours, victory often belongs to those who master not just the art of violence, but the art of deception.